Thank you very much for staying with us here on Prime Morning, and I'm glad to welcome you to News Flash. And of course, there's a lot to talk about this morning. Thank you to Sheila Sechi for bringing us the headline news, and Kwekwa Sante for bringing us a lot to ponder over and ponder about, especially with Parliament resuming. And that's going to be a very key part of the conversations we'll be having today. So we'll take a quick look at Parliament and its resumption of duty in the House today, this mid-morning. And of course, some of the key issues we have to be looking at and what we need to revisit in terms of, the work that is outstanding for Parliament to do. Also, Dr. Bawumia, who is the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, is tasking opposition MPs and the opposition generally to stand for the record of the government of 8 years, of the NPP government of 8 years, and, all of the key highlights of the government's rule, and he makes this as we resume Parliament. We'll take a look at some of the key things he's tasking the NPP faithful and, of course, the minority in Parliament to stand up for. Also, there are expected price hikes in transportation despite the subsidies that government has placed on diesel, especially over the last two pricing windows. We'll take a quick look at that as well. But right now, I'd like us to throw the lens on the dailies. We'll start off, as usual, with the Daily Graphic newspaper, which is focusing on the issue of hostel fees, which has been a major subject for discussion over the last couple of weeks. Now, the headline says, suspend hostel fee hikes now. And this is according to the Rent Commissioner to all tertiary school operators. Now, it says the Office of the Rent Commissioner and Rent Control Department have directed all private hostel owners and facility managers and operators and stakeholders within the accommodation sector to place a temporary hold on any intended or proposed increase in hostel accommodation for the 2026-27 academic year until further notice. Now, these two state agencies convened a meeting with all stakeholders to discuss the current development within the student accommodation sector to collectively deliberate on sustainable, fair and lawful measures regarding hostel pricing and standards. Now, this meeting will also provide the opportunity for stakeholders to discuss concerns relating to hostel fee increments and review the compliance with existing regulations and consumer protection provisions and explore practical solutions to ensure affordability, fairness to promote transparency, accountability within student hostel accommodation. All right, so the Rent Commissioner's Office and Department is following on this particular directive. And of course, it'll be interesting to note if there will be any persons or any operators who flout this law, because this is according to what the law says. And of course, the Rent Commissioner is operating heavily within the ambit of the law. Also, GCB Bank empowers construction firm with asset financing. Now, GCB Bank is Ghana's biggest debt network bank, and over the last 48 hours, we've seen something remarkable. Now, over the last 48 hours, we've seen GCB Bank, finance the purchase of big equipment for one of the biggest local construction firms who are undertaking projects in the Big Push agenda. So this was done at the head office of the company's and this is Timeline and Innovations Company Limited. And this obviously comes as very good news for businesses who are looking forward for project financing. And I was there. I actually hosted that event, and I'm taking a look at all of these equipment and how they would impact the delivery of work. We all do know that the Minister for Roads has been on a very, very intensive inspection regime, which has revealed that some contractors are not pulling their weight and are not working. We'll get behind the scenes and also try to understand why these contractors are not delivering according to timelines. But there are some great examples in Timelines and Innovation Construction Limited who are making sure that they are delivering within timelines and are also making efforts such as these in bringing varied equipment to ensure the fast delivery of their work, to ensure that the people generally get a lot of convenience when traveling around. Now, we'll be doing the discussions here in studio. I have a set of guests who will be joining me very, very shortly. And of course, lawyer Kwame Owusu-Danso has already taken his seat, and he will be helping us with some analysis on some of the key issues that we're discussing this morning. Kwame, thank you so much for your time. It's good to see you. I love this fugu.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I love the colors.
Thank you very kindly. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was given to me by a friend in the northern region.
I see. Beautiful.
So they produce the best.
We should make more friends in the northern region so that we get these presents.
Absolutely. Love your tie as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Accra Hearts of Oak business.
Are we going to the World Cup?
Well, we should. The only thing is we should also balance and, manage our expectations of the national team.
Yeah.
At this time, we all do know that in terms of form, we may not be displaying the best. Yeah. And now Coach Carlos Queiroz has very little time to do 2 games and then, try to test his squad and name.
I think I would not be surprised if we do better in this tournament.
Well, it will go against expectations. That would be great.
Absolutely, yeah.
That would be great. Yeah. I mean, if you look at what football brings to us, especially when we're on that platform, it's something else. And of course, it will come as a lot of relief because the last 2 performances at the World Cup have not been so great.
Absolutely.
So we'll look forward to that. Yeah. Now, also, there's a story on page 13 of the Daily Graphic which talks about transplantation being the best treatment for kidney failure. It'll be good for you to grab a copy of the Daily Graphic to take a look at the details of that story. Also, the policy rate stays at 14%, and that is according to the central bank. Of course, on the back page of the Daily Graphic, the editor of the Graphic Sports, Maurice Kwanzaa, has put together another feature, and the headline is Ghana's World Cup hopefuls under the spotlight. They play Mexico tomorrow in Puebla. Okay, so remember that the Black Stars are playing a trial game tomorrow, and that has mostly 80 to 90% of domestic and homegrown squad. And the idea is to see how good Ghana will be looking with our homegrown options to fill the places. Lawyer Kwame Owusu-Danso was just asking me off air about the squad and how confident we all are in the squad. That's also another conversation that is raging a lot in the public because people are very, very concerned about what will happen. I mean, we've seen on social media some of the reactions that have greeted the announcements of other squads, especially Brazil, and the story around Neymar and how eventually he was picked ahead of João Pedro. It was a whole big thing for him. And it's a whole big party for each player who's selected for the national team of Brazil. That's another lesson learned when it comes to valuing your national team. Now, the Insight newspaper says, Mahama says health spending is an investment and not welfare. Also, another story says Parliament reconvenes today amid packed new bills on the agenda. That just indicates that there's a lot of work for Parliament to do. Now, the Ghana Standards Authority cracks down on fake mattresses and substandard electrical products in major raid. And we do know that in the last 48 hours, we've had the officials of the Ghana Standards Authority crack down very heavily on some manufacturers of fake mattresses. And I saw some of the images on social media. It was so appalling.
Rather disturbing. I was shocked. I was taken aback. I saw them. I'm like, so what's going on? I mean, yes, I can understand that you have to manufacture and make profit, but not to these levels. I think it's the lowest of the low. It also tells you of the lacuna we have in terms of ensuring compliance and in terms of ensuring that companies and manufacturers alike act within the bounds of law and to give us quality, So I am happy that we are beginning to crack the whip. But it tells you that also that for the very many years that we have been unable to crack the whip, it means that people have made monies through illegitimate means or illegal means. And I find that quite troubling. So maybe they need to move beyond just some of these companies to other companies and check whether they are complying with the laws that give them the opportunity to manufacture these products in this country. And I was telling a friend of mine the last time, I don't know what kind of profit you want really. Because for whatever it's worth, you are producing the items here in Ghana. And I'm sure that for most of these foreign companies, they give them tax rebate. So for the next maybe 5 years, you will not be paying tax as much as a Ghanaian company would.
But Kwame, I also think that, you know, there's an element of human greed or human tendencies, and greed is a human tendency.
Yeah.
Now, someone is doing business, and the whole idea of doing business is that you are sustainable and you're making profits.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm thinking off the top of my mind that someone is looking for the cheapest possible means of production to make the best in terms of maximum profits, and that's exactly what is happening. This is something that is gone overboard.
But is it a standard?
Well, that's the bad thing. Yeah. And for me, that's where the problem is. Yes. And I'm also looking at the angle of tooling all of these agencies. So the Ghana Standards Authority, I won't immediately sit here and boast of knowing how well tooled they are in terms of logistics to carry out these random inspections. Because trust me, I mean, when these things happen, you'll be surprised what you get to know. Absolutely. You remember that restaurant on the Oxford Street?
Yes, I do remember.
You know,
it was a Chinese,
Chinese restaurant.
The Chinese
you know,
restaurant,
I remember very well the
I used to eat there actually.
Same here.
I used to eat there.
Same here. You know, they had some very nice seaweed starters. It was so amazing. Yes. And to see, I mean, the state of the kitchen that was cooking these meals in what is supposed to be a high-end restaurant, it was such an, I mean, it was so appalling. Yeah. And you know, it's just, I mean, when you talk about, you know, the food and beverages industry, there has to be extra hard compliance. Of course, this also borders a lot on, you know, standards generally, our manufacturing and how things are going.
See, Matt, if I told you the loopholes in the system and if plugged, what the state could benefit, you know, from them, you'd be amazed. I do recall one of the things that made me gravitate towards Ken Ofori-Atta was his consistent remark that we had a lot of loopholes at the port, and if plugged, we would make so and so amount of cash for the benefits of the good people of this country. So it tells you that by design, you know, we have reneged on our activities and ensuring proper compliance, that companies have taken advantage of the state institutions' inability to crack the whip. So I am happy that they've started. And it also feeds into even what is happening in respect of rent. That now you have a rent control commissioner who is very proactive, who is very active, who is ensuring that the right things are done. So if state institutions begin to have a bird's eye view of what companies are under their belt or radar, and by extension ensure that there's maximum compliance, the state will benefit. People are dying because somebody sat in his office and failed to do what is needed for them to do to ensure that, for instance, the expiry date on a tin of milk is accurate, and that the date on the milk has not expired. Somebody sat in his office and did not take the necessary steps to ensure that those products were taken off the market. And so, once we have begun seeing some of these things, it gives me so much comfort and confidence that sooner rather than later, a lot of these companies that are violating, deliberately so, the laws of this country for their own parochial gains, you know, they will be dealt with according to the tenets of the law and according to the dictates of the law, and the law which gave them the opportunity to even come and set up their factories in Ghana. This is not to say that they are going after companies or every manufacturing company in Ghana. I'm not sure that is the case. What it is that they are ensuring that the standards are met, you know, and for, like you rightly opined, you know, for beverages and food alike, the standards must be, or the threshold must be exceedingly high. Because this is something that people are consuming into their systems. And so we have to make
sure. That borders heavily on health and safety.
Absolutely, absolutely, 100%. So I am happy that they've started. It must not be a 9-day wonder. You know, in Ghana, we will start something so beautifully, and some big man somewhere will go behind the back door and find something for people, and then before you know it...
You make mention of this, and it draws me to the video. I wish we could get the production team to get that particular video where the team got to this Chinese company who are manufacturing substandard mattresses. And there was this lady there who had so much confidence, was placing her hand on the phone and requesting for which law it was that, you know.
Now, the danger is that we are even told that this is not the first time. We are told that that company had been closed down, I believe, from last year or so, you know, for a similar offense. You know, but the brazenness, you know, the boldness with which the lady spoke back to the arresting officers was quite surprising. Well, not so surprising, but you know, I was just admiring that brevity, you know, the brevity, because it gives the inkling, you know, that it gives me would be that this person must have some big man behind the company, and that is why they are so confident, knowing that nothing will happen to them. And it tells you that we have a very porous system. Okay,
so the company is called 5A Homes Limited.
You see now.
5A Homes Limited.
But you see, I think that we need to just move beyond arresting these people, to go pierce the veil, go behind it and find out who the shareholders are, who the owners are. It will give us a lot more insight into why the woman was so confident and demonstrated such brevity, knowing that nothing will happen to them. And I believe that also, now that they have Ghana Standards Authority, together with Rent Control and all these other agencies and para-institutions are embarking on compliance, that we also lend some huge support to them, particularly the media, so that we'll be able to shine the light on some of these activities which have been happening in this country for all these years without necessarily bringing an end to them. So I am happy that they have started. All we can do as citizens of this country is to continuously support them, continuously pat them on their backs, and encourage them to do more for this country.
Amazing stuff. And of course, we welcome a lawyer, Austin Brako-Powers. He's a lawyer and a researcher. You should be following some of his, teachings on social media. For those of you who are looking forward to entering law school, for those of you who are looking forward to going through the course, he does quite a bit, substantially and qualitatively to guide you through the process. Thank you very much, Counsel, for joining us.
Let me say one warning to your viewers, and duly apologize for my late presence. I want to chime in on the conversation that you were having.
Sure.
And for me, seeing the Standard Authority, the team from the Standard Authority moving about trying to seize items they consider substandard, tells me one thing, that our law enforcement regime is so lax, very weak. Because in the first instance, how did those items find themselves in the country? Don't we have people at the ports?
Well, they are manufactured here.
But exactly. So some of them were manufactured, yes, others were brought in. So the idea is that those that were manufactured, there are processes. There are laid down processes that before you even manufacture, you must be authenticated. You must be certified by the Standard Authority. So what has happened to the process? Particularly, you refer to the 5-5, the manufacturing company, the Chinese company that is manufacturing. Exactly, that is manufacturing substandard mattresses in the country. Just imagine the number of homes that are using these materials, and also if there is a fire outbreak. If it is substandard, if there's fire outbreak, just imagine the ravages that will cause in several homes. So for me, sometimes we must not get to this level. But when you get to this level, it means that the first process is faulty. And that is where we need to go back to the drawing board and rewire the first process. Because you see, if they are to get certification before manufacturing products in this country, and they are not doing that, and they are going to the second phase, then there's a problem. So we must stamp out that process, or stamp out this type of activity or attitude before it gets out of hand. So it's good that the Standard Authority, the Greater Accra team, and other law enforcement agencies. But Kwame, you refer to the rent commissioner, the acting rent commissioner. That this hide and seek, I catch you, it doesn't work. See, the rent commissioner knows the problem with the rent issue in this country. And he has nothing to do with the landlords intending to charge more. It has to do with the housing deficit, with the government, every government, it's a part to, as a role to play. Because, it will surprise you, they tell you that they are going to build affordable homes, but those homes are expensive homes. So $650,000. Which average Ghanaian worker can afford this type of homes? So it more has to do with the complicity of the government, and that is what the landlords have also fed into.
Yesterday I came across some research that indicated that 50% of our working population receives salaries in the region of 2,000 Ghanaians and less.
Exactly.
And so that becomes even more serious. That, I mean, how are you even managing your cost of living? How are you?
Exactly.
Right? Let alone be able to position yourself for investment.
So if this person earning, let's say 2,000 or below, is taking a mortgage, imagine how he or she will be able to squeeze herself to pay the debt. So it's a complicated issue, and I think the acting rent commissioner is doing his best, but this will not solve the problem. The various landlords have charged their rate based on the economic regime or the economic circumstances, and because we've also been there, I have said that we need to amend the Rent Control Act. We need to amend the act that says landlords should not charge beyond 6 months. I think it is not feasible. Looking at the current circumstances, you cannot tell a landlord not to charge beyond 6 months. At least we must make it 1 year. 1 year, not 6 months. 1 year is more affordable because averagely landlords are charging 1 year or more.
All right. Before you go on, I'm also looking at the thought behind the law, because every other time when we are assessing and doing analysis around our laws, we look at the intention behind the law. And when you look at the history as well, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who initiated this, was looking more towards the interests of the workers and their predicaments, so that it didn't really put the landlords at an advantage as against that of the workers. So you are looking, so your proposal of 1 year, you believe that this proposal is one that will balance the interests?
I'm looking at balancing the interest. And don't forget that laws are always overturned by circumstances. And in fact, laws are meant to regulate people. And the people, at a point, can change the law. So it is not sort of a straitjacket position that because laws are made, we must definitely work within the remit of the law. What if circumstances have changed? Currently, circumstances have changed. And I'm thinking that this is one such law that must be amended to reflect the circumstances, the current realities. The thing is that if you are not willing to pay the 1 year or more, somebody else is willing to do that. So that has forced many people to subscribe to the 1 year. And I believe that there are so many, averagely landlords are charging 1 year or more. If you could pay more, they will accommodate it or they will accept it. But charging 6 months, I think it's not feasible. Realistically, this provision in the Rent Act must be amended to reflect the reality.
Much as I agree with my learned colleague, the brother, Brako, I know that systemically there are structural issues relative to the housing and rent issues. Per my research and the data that I have, we have about 1.8 million housing deficit in Ghana. But the difficulty with that is that, and as has been highlighted by Brako, it is practically impossible for government to meet that demand, which is why government relies on the private sector. And so I am saying that there must be a fine balance between policy, which is government's policy, and private participation. Because what we have here right now, see, the current renting population is moving from 60% to 65%. Yeah. And 40% of us are all renting. So it tells you that the demand is high. And if the demand is high and the supply is less, there will be mad rush. And that is what creates that price fluctuation. The point I'm trying to establish here is that there must be a system where rent is regulated. Yeah. Even though I agree that it is the private man who is investing his money, but rent must be regulated. To say that if you look at, and fortunately my PhD is in rent. You know, I'm doing my thesis in rent. If you look at the we've created an informal system which is not regulated. So the landlords have not even registered their properties with, for instance, the rent control. And so rent control is not even able to determine by data how many houses are up for rent or how many houses are on the market currently. So once we have not been able to do that, then the determination of the prices is at the mercy of the owner of the property.
The point I also realize with the bit from Brako's submission is that, first of all, there is a deficit. And so these tenants are within a bracket that you can easily describe as what? Desperate.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. And because of that, end up, falling within all of the demands of these, landlords.
Yes.
And so if the landlords are flouting the law, they are not able to come out to say, look, this person, they can't blow the whistle.
Precisely. But that's the institutional gap. The fact that you're an armed robber and you get away with robbery does not mean that the act itself is correct, is appropriate. Because you're hungry. You go to Brako's house and go and take his, So there are institutional gaps. And here, let me just highlight a number of them. That there's no formal landlord registry which exists.
None.
The institutional gap is that the state also lacks basic data on rental market. Then the state cannot target enforcement or design policy. No coordination between agencies. Are you following? So those are the institutional gaps which there exist as we speak today. Now, how do we address those gaps? In my research, my proposition is that we need to have a zonal rental system. Now,
let's zone it.
Exactly. So, for instance, we zone, and I use Accra as a case study. So we zone Accra. We zone maybe the East Legon and the Trasacos and the Enclave, maybe zone A. Then under the zones, we have categories. So the categories of the houses that are within those areas. Because bear in mind that because somebody lives in a kiosk, what's it called, Trasaco, the person they even be paying more for that kiosk
for the land
than somebody who lives in Kwabena, because the person simply lives in. So once we grade, we categorize it and then we grade it, then as somebody who wants to rent, as a tenant, I would have the option of choosing how much I can afford. So you go and you click on it, and then it gives you the category. So within Nana Chrome, Adjengan on its environs, there are houses which you go for, let's say, $1,200. There are houses which will go for, let's say, $500.
You mean cities? We are not
cities.
Cities.
We don't charge
1,500 cities, $1,500, 200 Ghana. I'm still saying 200 cities, etc.
Charlie,
so it is a whole lecture that
after the show we will.
We'll get dollars. He has lots of dollars. But that's in the substance of his argument is that the current Rent Act is not fit for purpose.
No, it's not.
It must be amended.
It's not.
And is he attempting to enforce the current Rent Act as it is now will be complicated. Will create backlash for the government.
So it means that there are foreseeable frustrations for the rent commissioner with all he wants to do. Because he has good thought. He's very empowered.
What you need to understand is that the commissioner of the rent control cannot determine for the landlord how much he should charge.
No, he can't.
The law does not allow him to.
He can't. He has no power.
Similarly, you cannot tell the landlord the frequency of increasing. No, you cannot.
You cannot.
Are you
cannot.
Okay. So rent control is more like an outfit that is created for the purposes of addressing some challenges confronting the tenants and the landlords if the need arises. Now, the solution to that is that we have to have a Ghana Rent Regulatory Authority. That authority would now be given the teeth to bite, the mandate to operate. And then they will make a determination. So now they can even determine the frequency. They can determine that within this community, you cannot charge rent beyond this amount.
Which is feasible.
We must introduce the Ghana Rent
by amending the law.
Regulatory Authority by amending what exists currently.
So the exploits of the of the rent
acting
commissioner, the acting rent commissioner, is one that has brought out a very important need, and that, according to my guest here in the studio, is one that we need to quickly look at, and that is advocacy for further legislation, because the law as it stands now is weak and has a lot of loopholes. We're still here on Prime Morning, and this is Newsflash. My name is Nathaniel Atto, and here with me in the studio, our lawyer, Kwabena Brako-Powers. He's a lawyer and a researcher, and of course, politician and activist, lawyer Kwame Wusudanso, also here. Remember that he was the man who stood behind
Alan with zero regrets.
Yes.
It's okay.
Afrafranto. Yeah. I don't see you in the Afrafranto colors lately, though.
Oh,
are you?
I think yes.
Are you with them?
Yes.
Your council is asking a very important question. Are you
I'm wondering if he's with the.
Are you still within the party?
Now they are UP.
Yeah.
Are you with the UP?
Has the party collapsed?
No, are you with the UP?
No, you have to educate us.
You have to tell us.
I mean, it's
are you a member of the UP?
You know, I'm taken aback. This is harassment. Why are you harassing me?
Oh goodness. So let's quickly take a look at the New Republic, and then we can go straight into the matters of Parliament. Duka fishing Wuntumi's rescue plan as twin scandals closing on NPP kingpin. Now remember that Mr. Buesiako, also known as Chairman Wuntumi, is in court. He's defending himself over certain key allegations that have been made against him in the pursuit of his business in the extractive industry. And also the former Deputy Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Mirkuduka, has been making some statements in support of, Chairman Wuntumi, who's looking forward to becoming the chairman of the opposition New Patriotic Party. There's a worrying story here. It's on page 7. It has a picture of the Health Minister, Minta Kando, and it says Ebola outbreak declared as Ghana raises alert level. All right, so the World Health Organization has classified the latest Ebola outbreak as a public health emergency and international, as a public health emergency of international concern and a rare, designation that triggers tighter surveillance and preparedness nationwide. So then it means that the health ministry, through its Ghana Health Service, must make sure that, like has been said, we have a lot of tightness here in the system so that we do not,
No, they must make sure that we don't die.
No, but the thing is that I had the experience of living in Liberia in the heat of the Ebola, and it's scary. So if there's any advice or if there's anything at all that our health authorities are doing, they must start the sensitization, public education.
I remember this was in the last time there was an outbreak. It was in around 2015.
It was yes. So it was in 2014, between 2014 and 2015. So we were able to start the sensitization early, because in fact the number of people who died in Liberia and its neighbors, in its neighboring countries, the numbers are staggering. Yeah. And we must not punish Ghanaians. We must start sensitizing Ghanaians.
Yeah. And you've put it right. One of the key things I'm also confident about is how we were able to manage the situation then, such that we didn't record any incidents of Ebola virus here. So I believe we're going to follow suit and even make tighter regulations and laws. Opon Pepra lands in Canada for new role, but questions linger in barracks. Is a story of the immediate past Chief of Defense Staff.
I've seen the Duka story.
Yeah.
And I've been debating with my mind what people's expectations were relative to what Duka have said. I don't know what people were expecting him to say, that even if that is not the case, that because they are party members, he should
defend him.
Perjure himself.
I should defend him.
I don't know. I don't know if you've heard it.
No, I read the statement himself.
Well, so a bit from it before we go to Parliament. We talk about Parliament. Now, a former deputy minister has gone into the witness box to salvage the Ashanti NPP chairman from one criminal trial, even as a second and far more damaging fraud case threatens to engulf the party's richest grassroots operator. But his defense may already be holed in below the waterline. Now, George Mirkuduka, who served as Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources until 2024, appeared before the High Court this week as the second defense witness for Bernard Buesiako, better known as Chairman Wuntumi, and his company, Akonta Mining. Now, the charge, illegally permitting two men to conduct mining operations in a contest Samurai Boy concession without the required approvals. So this is one, that the court is placing on him. Now, Duka's argument is that Duca's argument is loyally and narrow. Reclamation, he told the court, is not mining. Under Section 14 of the Minerals and Mining Act, Act 703, the transfer of assignment of mineral rights requires the minister's written approval. Yes, this is captured very heavily in law. Yes, so
I like that.
Yeah, so let's see how things go. I mean, this is a process, and once again, like we say, we have to get to the end. And finally, there's a story also very disturbing. Police nabbed 7 in child trafficking ring. One rescued and a midwife has been linked. And that just is a feather in the cap of our security services. I mean, these border around our security, social protection, and the vulnerable lot of our population.
That's right.
Know? And
I cannot speak to this matter because one of my clients is part of the people who have been arrested. So I will not comment on it.
No, but the thing is, largely, not you articulated the position of what Ghanaians ordinarily would think, because, I mean, this is a good news, but like we always say, Article 90 guarantees that anybody that is found to have participated in an alleged criminal offense is innocent. So I want to encourage the security agencies to approach these individuals from that perspective.
From that perspective.
You get it? Because the thing is, it's becoming one too many. Not that our security agencies apprehend a suspect and they manhandle him as if the person is already culpable. And that is scary. If we are building a society that is responsible of democracy and due process and rule of law, we must ensure that that innocence, that burden, that an individual is innocent until you have indeed advanced argument or evidence to the contrary. You must give him that courtesy. Him or her, that courtesy, that respect, and that human dignity.
Very well, very well. Now, let's get on Zoom and say hello to our friends who are joining us for this conversation this morning. Thank you all very much for staying with us on the show. Now, Dr. Kwabena Brako-Powers is a political scientist with the University of Ghana, Legon, and also Clement Aklo is the Director of Communications of the Parliamentary Network Africa. And of course, their perspective becomes very, very important this morning as we delve into the issues. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. All right, so we'll try our best to re-establish contact with Dr. Kwabena Brako-Powers and also Clement Aklo, so they can also join the conversations. Let's go into Parliament. Now, the first meeting of the second session of the 9th Parliament starts off this morning, this mid-morning, in Parliament, and there are major expectations. Let me begin from you, Brako. Tell me what your key issues are as we get here. I mean, there are a whole range of them, and for me, I'm looking at it from different angles. First of all, the major bills and legislative reforms that we're expecting. Also, economic recovery and fiscal oversight. You do know that Parliament has that oversight responsibility when it comes to spending, and a lot of the major approvals that have to be made regarding our spending in various sectors have to go to Parliament for approval. The unending canker of illegal mining is also there and must be dealt with expected legislation, further legislation, and of course the backlog of parliamentary business. Also, governance and institutional reforms, of course, and the political tensions that always exist between the majority and the minority.
I mean, to be frank with you, I've been unimpressed with the work of Parliament so far, particularly this session of Parliament.
Okay.
Or this Parliament, this 9th Parliament, I've been unimpressed with it.
What are your reasons?
First, it has to do with the bully that the majority is exerting. The majority is bullying the minority. And why do I say that? I
mean, if you were in their shoes, in the shoes of the majority, I mean, it's also part of the workings of politics, isn't it?
You have to build the consensus. Parliament is not for politicians or is not for political parties. Parliament is to take decisions to govern the welfare of Ghanaians. And the decision must be apolitical. The decisions must not have a partisan twist. So when you are taking decisions and you ignore the voices of the minority, what it means is that when they also get the opportunity to rule or to govern, they may change the very particular decision that you took. Now, what I'm saying is that we must be able to build consensus in decisions that will regulate Ghanaians so that we're able to maintain consistency, certainty. Ghanaians should not wake up to see that a particular law that was made or enacted and assented to by the president to govern them had been changed by another government or the succeeding government. That should not be the case. There must be a pattern of consistency and certainty. I am saying that many of the laws that were passed during their first session were rushed and the voices of the minority were not included in it. Secondly, the absenteeism is becoming one too many. Why were you elected to represent your constituents? You were elected to be in parliament. It is in furtherance of this, or it is in furtherance of this that you are accommodated. They give you a car loan so that you can come to parliament. Now, absenteeism, you realize there was a point in time the speaker had to release that absenteeism list. It's becoming staggering and disappointing. If you know you are already in a particular activity, an engaging activity, don't go to parliament. Parliament is to make sure that you scrutinize bills. And it doesn't come to me as a surprise because we end up passing laws. Then you detect sometimes grammatical errors. Basic grammatical errors. You're able to detect them from our very laws. How is this possible?
And Parliament is supposed to be the standard when it comes to scrutiny and attention to detail.
Top notch. This is law-making institution. Now, we are talking about the one of the arms of government which is powerful, which regulates our welfare, our movement in the country. And they make laws and you're able to detect basic grammatical errors. And you say they did due diligence. And when you talk about it, they feel offended. I'm saying that we elected you to go to parliament, scrutinize whatever policies or laws or bills that the government present to parliament. Scrutinize it with the mindset of Ghanaians. Because all of us cannot be in parliament. Not all of us. Otherwise, my mom and my siblings, all of us will march to parliament so that we'll participate in the decision making. But we let you to go to parliament and you turn up not attending sessions, frustrating the effort of the speaker. Because the speaker is just there, he's an umpire. The speaker cannot unilaterally take decisions for Ghanaians. You are the elected representative. The speaker, we didn't elect the speaker. I didn't vote for the speaker. I voted for a member of parliament to represent my voice, to speak for me. But if you don't go there, it's disappointing. So the absenteeism.
And of course, by the standing orders, there is a certain set number of days when you miss.
You must. Exactly. Yeah. But the thing is that, can we say with confidence that some of the lawmakers have not missed, or they don't even cross that threshold?
We cannot say that for a fact because we do not have
and we cannot also say that it doesn't happen. So as much as we don't have evidence to the contrary, we also don't have evidence to the opposite angle. The thing is that we don't have evidence that some have trespassed or crossed the threshold. And we can't also say that they've all performed within the threshold. So I want us to have this. And the telly, I think laws are being rushed. Laws are being rushed. The way they make laws, particularly one law that
I was coming to that. So we were specific, so that nobody thinks we're just generalizing.
Yes, laws are being rushed, and I'm looking at the way they passed the 24-hour bill, 24-hour authority bill. I thought this is, and for me, I support the 24-hour economy policy, but we in trying to legislate it. Open it up for people to make input, because this is beyond a campaign promise. This is not a national policy,
and also has a multi-sectorial look and feel.
So the ownership must be there, and the trend from my discussion or my analysis is that we must not make laws that will be one-sided, which will give the other party the opportunity to change it when they also come into power. Don't forget that some months away we had one D1F, one district, one factory, which was not legislated. Was it a bad policy? No, it was a good policy. Was it well implemented? No, it was poorly executed. The one district, one factory is one policy that the previous administration poorly executed it. Because the promise was that every district in the country was going to get a factory. And I was so excited because of one thing, that it would create jobs, and beyond the jobs, it will bring in an additional revenue generating factor. Because currently, we need factories, and the factories will add up to the revenue. But if we are using the very factories we have, and we are using the revenue we have to pay salaries and other things, where are you going to get additional revenue from? It's by productivity, by increasing production, creating factories, and getting more, creating more jobs.
Good key points you've raised there. Let me come to you, Kwame Usudanso. And in a bit, we'll also be crossing over virtually so that we have inputs from our two guests who are joining us as well.
I think it is important to understand the primary function of Parliament. And Ghana, practicing a unicameral parliamentary system, ensures that laws are being made. So they debate bills and they ensure that those bills are passed into laws. So that's the primary function of Parliament. Unfortunately, we live in a democratic experiment where people have turned upside down the core functions of a parliamentarian to something else. So people expect so much from parliamentarians to the extent that people think that the workings of a parliamentarian is to build schools, is to build roads, is to build hospital facilities and bring water to their communities without necessarily understanding the core functions of parliamentarians. And so it is important and instructive that we lay this foundation. Also, another function of Parliament is to control public funds and ensure that there's direct oversight in relation to executive expenditure, so that if the executive is spending, they spend within the confines of law. And sometimes even to approve international loans by by provision of the Constitution, they must necessarily go to Parliament or Parliament to approve before they can contract those laws. And finally, the last function of Parliament is to represent the people. And for me, that is actually one of the most important functions of Parliament, that you amplify the voices of people. Because like my brother rightly opined, not all of us can go to Parliament. And that's why when we look within the community or the constituency, we elect one person that, we think that in this material moment or this material moment, you are the one who can best represent our aspirations. So go to Parliament and go and do that. Now you do that by the passage or through the passage of laws. You do that by not necessarily acquiescing to the whims and caprices of the executive. Unfortunately, our Parliament has been designed as an arm of the executive. Unfortunately.
Not by the Constitution.
Unfortunately. It has been designed as an arm of the executive. And I say this in all humility and respect to the Constitution, an extension of the executive. Why do I say this? Because you see, we practice a system where the presumption is that we are supposed to have separation of powers. However, there's a clear symbiotic relationship between the operations of Parliament and that of the executive, particularly if you have majority of parliamentarians belonging to the party that elected the leader of the executive. So that is why, by the nature of our Constitution, a lot of the appointees for the executive must come from Parliament. So then you see that there's a lacuna. Then beyond that, you would also notice that by reason only of the fact that the constitutional tool or instrument which indicates that a lot of the ministers must come from Parliament, you will notice that parliamentarians then renege on their core functions of passing laws which must necessarily inure to the benefit of the good people of this country and fully, properly representing the people. So they renege on that, and then they take on the cloth of doing the bidding of the executive, even though it is not in the interest of the people. And here, let me make it quite clear that this presumption that once I'm a member of parliament in a constituency that appears to be NDC, then I'm only representing NDC people, or I'm only representing NDC constituents, that concept must change. Because once we vote for a member of parliament, there are different political ideologies. There are people who belong to different political ideologies within a particular constituency. So the idea is to represent all of them and not necessarily the people you think voted for you. So to this end, I am simply saying that Parliament must begin to, take some few steps back, look at how they've been performing their functions to the people of this country over this period, and see what they can do going forward. Now, you made mention of some business that Parliament would be looking at in this session. And you made mention of the fact that, there are some bills which are still pending. I think one of the most controversial bills that is still pending is the anti-LGBT, something. Yes, yeah. That bill ought to be looked because it's a matter of national importance.
The family values bill, yeah.
And that is why I made mention of representation, because you must necessarily be the voice of the people in your constituencies. So what are the people in the constituency saying? Are they for the bill? Are they against the bill? These are conversations that we must have if we want to build a Ghana that is unified. Now, it is also very instructive to acknowledge that, you see, Brako spoke about bullying and the unfortunate incidents that we've seen over the period, that even if the minority is inclined to raise an objection to a matter that appears to be problematic, because we have the numbers, we will have our way. That practice ought to change, because the functions of Parliament, in my respectful opinion, are different from what arguably should be the position of the executive. So we must not be seen always to be pandering to the whims and caprices of the executive. There are times that we must boldly disagree. If government, by way of policy, presents a bill through a private member's bill or government executive bill, whatever it is, and we notice that this bill will not inure to the benefit of the group of this country, by all means, we must raise questions about these matters. And finally, let me make this point that, look, in the disbursements of funds, people have started complaining that the finance minister is not releasing money. People have started complaining. One of the core functions of Parliament is also to ensure oversight.
Yeah. The monies are released.
And the release of statutory funds. People are complaining. I don't have the evidence, so I'm only conjecturing. But if that is the case, the finance minister ought to do something about it, so that development will be spread across the country and not just concentrated in Accra. I don't know if you have seen I don't know whether it was through a release or an interview or something like that, but Professor Ahoy. And the response from the Ashanti...
On the decentralization.
On the decentralization bit, and the response from the Ashanti nation, I think.
Some individuals.
Yes, believed to be from the Ashanti region, the response to that. So we have a huge, economic disparity. That's a fact. And this is born out of our inability as a people to ensure even distribution of our resources. And we have not been able to do that primarily because Parliament has lost the oversight responsibility it must have on the executive. Because they should be the arm of government that will work to ensure that the executive does things which will inure to the benefit of the good people of this country. They have that oversight responsibility on the operations of the executive. So we must do that. We must ensure that they go back and do the things that they are designed to do. And if in the final analysis, development is brought to all of us and everybody is okay, why not? But the way Parliament is designed today, I'm quite disappointed, honestly. And the kind of people that we have been representing constituencies in Parliament is quite nauseating, with the greatest of respect. I mean, our people cannot even understand and appreciate basic tools of law. You know what I mean? I mean, how do you expect such people to pass laws that will benefit their constituents? So the representation must also be proper. the representation must also be proper.
Well, we'll get into that representation. We'll be coming back to you in a bit. But let's get to Dr. Kwabena Brako-Powers. He is a political scientist with the University of Ghana. Thank you very much, Doc, for your time this morning.
Good morning, and thanks for the opportunity. Of course, good morning to my colleagues in the studios and Ghanaians at large.
Well, from your end as well, what are the key areas you'd be looking at as Parliament reconvenes this morning for forcible work?
Yeah, before I zoom into that, I think my colleague, the lawyer in the studio, made brilliant.
Both of them are lawyers, actually.
Oh, okay. I don't know the name. Is it Kwame also?
Kwame Owusu-Danso, yes.
Yes, Kwame Owusu-Danso. So, yeah, Kwame's submission, great submission. But there's something that I need to also bring to his attention. He made the fact that there's a presumption that Parliament should be able to operate under the principle of separation of powers. Mr. Danso, it is not true in our system. In fact, there is no separation of powers anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
In fact, when we are talking about strict separation of powers,
right.
All right, it doesn't work. Yeah. What we have is what? Separation of powers box up with what? Checks and balances. So whilst you perform one function as a legislature, slices of your functions are given to other institutions to perform, to serve as a check on your powers. And that is the situation now. But I follow your argument and I share in some of the strong points that you have shared on legislative oversight and the rest of them. Beautiful argument, yes. But I'll take it from there. The issue of bullying also have something to say. Yes, you are seeing that. But from the word go, the moment we voted and gave NDC to test majority, Parliament from the word go is weak because you are going to have a whole large number of people who belong to one side of the political divide, and giving our political culture, giving the way we look at the issues. As soon as we get to Parliament, we are more political, more leaning towards our party than the state. So obviously, when you bring things to the fore, people will use their political positions to scuttle all those things. So unfortunately, Mr. Danso, we are going to be in this pain for a long time. Yes.
Doc, before you continue, isn't this also supposed to be a reflection of society, as they always say? Because, I mean, the people voted for the government in power. The people voted the parliamentarians into parliament. And so, as they always say, the majority opinion. And of course, the parliament itself hinges its work heavily on majority opinion. And, you know, eventually when it gets to a certain point and decisions have to be taken, it's the majority of the opinion. And so what about those who argue that, well, Parliament is mirroring society, and society by popular opinion, moves by popular opinion, basically?
Yeah, the situation you have in Parliament is a function of the voting practice in this country. Yeah, as people put more in Parliament for a political party, it gives you an idea that, look, they don't want to hear the dissenting voices. That's it. You saw where we were, we had a hung Parliament. That is what Ghanaians wanted. But we are saying that, you see, in a democracy, we respect the view that majority carries the day. But you must also move along with minority interest. Because otherwise, a day will come that the minority will say, enough is enough. We are not going to accept this. We are not going to allow this. Then you are in chaos. And that is why Parliament has always worked based on what? Consensus. So for parliamentary work, sometimes you can see this sharp divide. But because of, the country's interest, they also sometimes bury their differences and work in a way of supporting the cause of government. Otherwise, every government will grind to a halt if they really want to maintain an entrenched position. That said, I am looking at what Parliament can do this time around. They have listed a whole lot of bills that they want to bring to the fore and then discuss and then pass them on to the executive for signature. I am in love with one of them, a number of them, but I'll start with the community service bill. That there are some offenses that do not need for a court to put people into prison to go and just the already congested prisons, so they can engage in community services and all that. That's brilliant. But we have to take the conversation and not further by also looking at the prison system, whether the conditions there is fit for purpose, whether there is the need to step up our game in there, the education relative to conditions in prisons and all that. The public need to get this, and we expect that all these things will find expression in the bill and then will be discussed in Parliament thoroughly, so that the law that will come out will stand the test of time. Another point worth considering is the conduct of public officers bill. I mean, this bill is long overdue, because if you seize the posture, the behavior, attitude of certain public officers, it leaves much to be desired. Somebody gets to public office in no time, he's one of the richest guys around. Where did the person get resources? So I believe that this bill is nothing but an apt description of the problem that we have in this country and the solution that we need to use to confront this problem. Because if we look at issue of corruption, Transparency International, the local branch, tells us that over $3 billion slipped through our fingers by way of corruption. Remember the last time we were in IMF, we were looking for $3 billion. So the issue is that fix corruption and you don't go to IMF with all their conditionalities and the rest of them. So my understanding is that this bill will shape the political contours of politically exposed people, and then strengthen the frontiers of governance in this country, so that we can ensure value for money and we can develop our society. The issue of there's a bill on tribunals which are going to deal with special offenses and all that. For me, I'm not a lawyer, but my experience with tribunals over the years have not been good one, as I read through the literature and all that. So my position is a bit reserved relative to tribunals. But we are throwing a challenge to the NDC that they must come clean on this and then demonstrate to Ghanaians that this is not a tribunal, that what they are going to set up is not what we experienced over the years, and that this can really change the game and bring justice to the ordinary man. I'm looking forward to that. And then, above all, I am also looking at the bill that touches on land and natural resources. There are a lot in this area, and I expect that Parliament would do, as always, a great job on the bill, so that some of the lingering challenges that confront that area of our public life can be addressed head on.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, bringing us some more perspective, especially with expectations on specific laws or specific bills that are there. Doc, please stay with us, because we would need to engage you some more. Gentlemen, I'm very excited about Dr. Asah-Asante's suggestion about community service, because I have monitored some reportage and some special features and documentaries that have been done by colleagues of mine, including the multiple award-winning Seth Kwame Boateng, where he went into our prisons and, looked at the predicaments of our prisoners and looked at some of the reasons why some of them found themselves there. And when you look at the Criminal Offences Act, you look at the chain of offences and their respective punishments, you realize that you look at some of the cases and you see somebody goes to steal, plantain from a nearby farm, and the person is given a prison sentence. Somebody goes to, steal a goat from somewhere, and the person or somebody steals 10 Ghana cedis from someone. These are, little offenses that require lesser punishments or lesser punitive, measures from the law.
Well, so I think in Ghana, the misconception is that, or maybe misconception that has now translated to realism, is that when you commit an offense, by all means, you must be punished. And when they incarcerate you, it is seen more as punitive as opposed to reformative. So that is how our system has been designed, unfortunately. Now, the truth is that, look, if you travel to the United States, the United Kingdom, and all of that, it's not in all cases that people are imprisoned. Like you rightly indicated, in many cases, you would notice that communal service will be used in place of, in place of imprisonment. And really, that, if you look at the data, that really reforms a lot of people, as opposed to sending people back to, to jail and things like that. Now, our prison setup, as I've indicated, is designed to punish you. It's designed to make you feel less of a human being. It's designed such that once you even come out, the principle of recidivism is even usually a challenge. Now, how to even integrate you back into society is also a problem. So people go to prison and come back more hardened than they were even before they went to prison. So then it begs the question, really and truly, has the prison that the person was taken to reformed him, or has rather made him even more evil? And usually it is the case that they become more evil. They become susceptible to engaging even in more dangerous activities that they were not even engaged in before they went to prison. Somebody will maybe, like you said, go to a farm and steal some plantain, some cassava, some tomato. They are sent to prison. When they come back, because usually they say that prison is better because they are fed. They come back and then now they become more daring. They'll start going to people's homes and robbing them and things like that. So we have not really benefited from our prison setup. I am happy that we have a bill that will be dealing with some of these issues and introducing quite forcefully into our system, the communal service. I'm very happy that we're introducing that, to be honest.
Amazing stuff in there. You had a reaction to make earlier.
Yes. Yeah. Now the thing is that the community service, maybe as a term, has not been or has not found expression in our or has not been given expression in our laws. But if you look at some of the sentences that are handed out, and in fact, the understanding must be that when you are convicted and sentenced, that doesn't mean you are going to jail. We must be able to get this distinction clearly, because you can be sentenced to pay a fine, or you can even be asked to enter a bond. So being sentenced does not mean go to jail. And like I'm saying, this terminology may not have found expression in our laws, our penal code, but some of the punitive measures that are handed down, in a way, they have that twist. But I'm just curious. The thing is that, does giving one party supermajority in parliament make it weak? Or does it mean that party should always have its way? I think this is a unique opportunity for parliamentarians to demonstrate to Ghanaians that they have what it is to push and move the interests of this country.
Let's take some more perspective from Honorable Maxwell Lukuto. He is the Member of Parliament for the South Tongue constituency. Honorable, thank you so much for your time here.
Good morning, Nat. How are you?
Well, great. We thank God, and thanks for asking. You're looking forward to this morning's session, aren't you?
Yes, it will be in the afternoon.
Amazing. Now, let's talk about one area I'm very interested in, the phenomenon of first-time, members of parliament. Now, for first-time members of parliament, there's always the progression element as well, getting used to the doings and the, getting well-versed in the standing orders and how parliament generally is conducted. And that is a whole load of work. And then away from that as well, trying to get relevant and be seen, adding to the daily discourse as well. But for you, how does it all go for first-time members of parliament? That's an area I'm very interested in.
Yeah, sure. So, like you said, it's a challenge. Before you get in there is a lot of expectation about what you can bring to bear. The seniors will tell you as a first-timer, you don't have the opportunity to do what you have to do easily. And as a first-timer who wants to go into parliament, you will challenge the status quo by saying that it's about what is in you, it's about what you can bring to bear. And so when you get there, there's pressure on you to deliver. But the fact of the matter is that to stand on the floor of parliament, to even make a contribution is not a joke. And to even catch the eye of the speaker, for him to trust that whatever you are coming to say is of substandard, it's also an issue. So as a first timer, you would have to learn the rules of engagement. But parliament is such that because they know it's a place of learning. Sometimes if you rise, you make mistakes, they try to correct you. But as a human being, you are not the type who can withstand that pressure. Once you are corrected, it's away from you. But of course, if you are the one who wants to be on your feet and to do what you think is right, you are not bothered about whatever it is. And so, yes, it's a mixed feeling. For some of us, it took less than 1 week for us to rise on the floor of parliament to make our voices heard. Because basically, some of us have been in the media for quite some time. So we have learned the trade of communication. We have learned the trade of confidence addressing crowds. And so it's not been too difficult for us to speak. Beyond that, it's about representing your people. It's about bringing the issues of your people to bear on the floor of parliament. And so, depending on who you are, and of course, not everybody who has what it takes to always communicate clearly through the media or even on the floor of parliament. Some of them do more of offensive work than doing the work on the floor. Some do the committee works where their technical abilities are brought to bear, where they go to committee meetings. And so it depends on the individual and what you can do. And so, yes, it's a mixed bag.
Just before we let you off, there are also key bills. There's a lot of work that's piled up. Very briefly, in the next minute, if you can, tell us 1 or 2 key areas that you would specifically be interested in as work resumes this afternoon. Beg your pardon.
Apparently, you need to get to the House to see what is on the order list, the order paper for you to discuss. So we are yet to see what the order paper stipulates for us to do. Today is Thursday, tomorrow Friday. We'll resume again on Tuesday, and so I'm sure some preliminary works will be done. There were some bills that we're considering before rising. I'm sure that we'll have to go through some of them today and tomorrow. And the major things we'll have to do from next week will be laid on the floor of Parliament today. And so if that is done before, we'll be very well abreast with what is on the other paper for us to discuss the following week. I am unable to tell exactly what to say.
All right, so you are also a member of the Lands and Natural Resources Committee of Parliament. There's been a lot in terms of the public commentary and the happenings within this, the extractive sector, specifically the phenomenon of galamsey. As we go forward, I mean, I'm sure that if you met anybody and the person was asking you what in terms of further legislation we're going to see in Parliament, you'd have something to say to him.
Yeah, sure, of course. So the minister is doing so well about the fight for Galamsey. Let me admit our expectations have not been met as far as Galamsey is concerned. The stability level of our water bodies have not improved significantly the way we expected them. But at least there are steps we have taken to ensure that this menace is brought to the barest minimum. The law allowing mining or prospecting within forest reserves has been revoked. We have amended that, and so that is a major thing. The Ministry for Transportation is also working on the importation of excavators to the country. You need to take permission. You have to permit when you come. We went to the Minerals Committee the other day, and there's a whole server room where all excavators that are imported to this country are tracked. So if a mining company says I'm bringing it because of mining in this particular area, they put they will check it and ensure that you operate within that same area. There's a tracker, so they put a tracker on it. And so some of these things we are doing is taking away so much from the Galamsey, so that we don't give them leeway to be able to do. The NIMOS is on their necks every day on the water bodies, ensuring that we take them away from the water bodies. The blue water guards are doing their bid. And so it's a coordinated effort from government to we bring Galamsey to the barest minimum or eliminate it completely.
Very well.
And so for me, we are not sitting down and looking on like it happened in the past. We are taking the fight to them, and it's our prayer that within the shortest possible time we'll be able to eliminate this Galamsey menace that we have faced for so long. Let me admit that it's not a small fight, and we will have to intensify whatever we are doing in terms of making bills and laws, and also going on the ground to ensure that our expectations are met and our water bodies become clean.
Honorable Maxwell Lukuto, we are very grateful to you. He's the Member of Parliament for the North Tongue constituency and also a member of the Lands and Natural Resources
South Tongue, please.
South Tongue.
South Tongue, beg your pardon. South Tongue, I beg your pardon. North Tongue is the Foreign Minister, Honorable Kujeto Ablakwa. Beg your pardon, sorry about that. Let's also take the thoughts of... beg your pardon. Yeah, very briefly before we go.
You know, let me single out Kenneth Boa for praise, honestly. The NIMOS boss. I think he's doing exceptionally well. All he needs is support. I've engaged him privately, resources and support from us. I've engaged him privately. We had very lengthy conversations about the operations of NIMOS, what they've been doing. So now he's made it a point to always be forwarding some of the things that they've been doing quite recently to me. And just yesterday, in fact, around 1 a.m., he forwarded some arrests they had made in the Ankobra enclave. You know, some thugs who were wielding weapons and mining in the river, they've been arrested. So I think that the commitment is there. We only have to support them and encourage them to do more. It's not going to be a one-day job, honestly. It's going to be very tough. And then also on the whole general reforms within the lands and natural resources sector, I think also fundamentally one of the things that we fail to do as a nation is that we do not consolidate narrations. So if the lands ministry wants to change the laws, they just go and sit there together with the select committee on lands, and then they come out with the laws. You have to engage civil society organizations so that we can have a broader perspective.
Very well. Very well. Let's go virtual again and have a conversation with Clement Aklo. He's the director of the director of communications for the Parliamentary Network Africa. Thank you very much, Clement, for your time. Good morning. Sorry for keeping you for a while.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, good to have you here on the show.
Viewers, panelists.
Very well. Now, I've been focusing on a few areas. Earlier this morning on the show, my colleague Kweku Asante brought a piece on, expectations ahead of Parliament, and he made mention of some key areas bordering on on conduct of parliamentarians. And that refers to the incidents that happened on the floor of Parliament during a select committee hearing. And, parliamentarians got into a scuffle and public property was was damaged, and we still we're yet to see the results of the findings from the committee's investigations and all of that. All of these are pending.
Yes, this is a very big issue for all of us. I mean, Network Africa is on record to have brought this issue forcefully to the eye of the public. We have taken several petitions to Parliament on this issue. We have done some press reviews on it and all that. Calling for Parliament to show, to actually make sure that this comes to the public, because our Parliament must be a form of example to be. So if something of this nature is happened in Parliament, we expect that we will be leading in this and make sure that the public knows exactly what we are doing about it. We're very particular about this issue because of what happened in Parliament, which went on, and we believe that that's what has also brought this quarter in Parliament. So we're on the heels of Parliament to ensure this comes out. And we were kind of delighted when the Speaker took the bull by the horn and the ad hoc committee actually look into this. And then we're happy when we spoke to the chairman of the committee and said that they have actually completed the work of the committee and had the report. But we have looked forward to this report and it has never hit the members of Parliament. And we thought that there was something amiss. And we have all the confidence and Mr. Speaker, who has spoken several times to this particular issue, that he's ready to make sure that he leaves Parliament as the most disciplined and most important aspect of our democratic governance. So we believe that this is the time. Once they are resumed, the time for this particular report to come out. We heard him eloquently when he said that this committee should do the recommendation that leads to those who cause mayhem and the public properties will be surcharged for it. Those who deserve to have some kind of disciplinary measures taken against them. But up until now, we haven't had anything, and we think that this is the opportunity for Parliament to do this. We are looking at that this measure on the table when Parliament.
Well, another very worrying, realization is that of the incident that happened when an unidentified member of Parliament made a very, very demeaning remark of the departed former president, describing Dr. Zanetta Rawlings, the Korle-Klottey MP, as the daughter of a murderer. Now, as we speak, the information available is that in the investigation is yet to figure out who exactly said that, and that also is a cause for worry.
Yes, it's a serious cause of worry. And what is bringing out is that it looks like Parliament is dropping the ball when it comes to discipline of this form bodies. And we think that this is dangerous for our democratic forward march. It looks like when issues happen and you are a member of Parliament and it does not go well the general conduct and culture of the nation, because we are a member of Parliament, then we tend to turn a blind eye to those issues. We don't want Parliament to go down this night, go down as with that impression that once you are a member of Parliament, you can do some things and get it out with. We also understand the narrative in Parliament, which makes it look if you are picking on the opposite side, it may look like you are oppressing them. But we felt that, when the world said that if nobody abide the law, we are all not above it. We must get it out at every point of personal life so that we serve as an example for the young ones that are coming. And we know that we have very big youthful population, and they are looking up to grown-ups who will show them some kind of direction.
Very well, very well. Thank you very much, Clement Akolo. He's the Director of Communications of the Parliamentary Network Africa, bringing perspective to the conversation. Thank you very much, Clement.
Parliament, which is supposed to be in the showing action.
All right, Clement, thank you so much. Apologies for the blip in the sound quality towards the end, but we got most of the points that he made here. Clement Akolo is the Director of Communications of the Parliamentary Network Africa. Let's now go to Dr. Asante, and of course, I would like to focus on the opposition leaders' comments and admonition of the minority MPs who are going into Parliament. And he's looking at a four-prong approach or a four-pillar strategy. He's urging them to conduct themselves with discipline, focus, and insisting that the party's parliamentary approach must be evidence-based and solution-oriented. Now, he's also urging the members of Parliament to continue to stand for the work or the record of the Akufo-Addo-led administration, of which he was vice president. Doc, this obviously is giving the minority fuel, but as has been said here on the floor in the studio, they go in there, the minority goes in with a major challenge, knowing that they are a micro-minority and there's a very high possibility that the majority would want to always bulldoze them, as everyday politics has it.
As I earlier on indicated, what you see now as members of Parliament is a function of the voting process. It is also a function of the political system that you have. If you have a parliamentary system of government where there is a strict discipline, it means that political actors will make sure that they support the views of government all the time. Otherwise, they can be hit by a vote of no confidence. On the other hand, when you have a presidential system, people get into Parliament and they don't care a hoot about what happens with their political parties. They are more towards the states because there is no vote of no confidence there. The president is put into office for a fixed term, provided he is not impeached, and the rest of them. So if Ghana really want to shape these things so that MPs will get to Parliament and they will do the work of the state, then a system of government need to be developed or introduced. So in this call, then you are talking about what? A presidential system of government where you don't have that strict party discipline, but rather what? A weak party discipline. But if you continue to have what? A parliamentary system or a hybrid, like what we have today, where, it is tilted towards a parliamentary system of government, I'm afraid this problem is going to be there all the time. That's it. The views by Dr. Bawumia, they are okay. MPs are supposed to be reminded from time to time as to their duties and all that, even though they are not oblivious of their own duties. But the parties also have a responsibility to remind them. So Bawumia, coming from that background, is urging them that it doesn't matter your numbers. Remember, Parliament is a home of records. So if you are able to let your voices heard on important issues, they are going to remain in the annals of Parliament, all right, forever. That even though these issues cropped up and you were very few in Parliament, you stood your grounds and you let your voice heard on very important issues. For me, that is very, very, very important. So it doesn't matter their number. If they want to really do a good job, they can do that. And it doesn't matter the position of the majority. So for me, I believe that it's a good start for them, provided they can sustain it so that Parliament will be able to play its oversight role very, very, very well.
Dr. Kwame Asante, he is a political scientist with the University of Ghana, Legon. Doc, thank you so much. We're grateful for all the insight on the various subjects this morning. Now, we'll come to you in the studio. Gentlemen, Dr. Bawumia, obviously, as the leader of the opposition, is playing his very key function in terms of whipping everybody, driving everybody along. It comes during a time and a period when the NPP is always also preparing for an internal election where we're going to see maybe a new set of officers or otherwise. And now he's trying to shape the mentality of all of these parliamentarians so that in as much as they're a micro-minority, their presence is felt in Parliament.
Yeah. So I think one of the core principles of democratic constitutionalism is to ensure that there's a stronger opposition. Without stronger opposition, the government of the day will have a free walk in the park, and that would not augur well for our democratic, enterprise. So to that end, I am very happy that he is whipping his people in line. They must have one unified arrowhead front in order that they can debate on matters that are important for national, national discourse, and to ensure that they put the feet of government to the fire of accountability. That is very, very, very important. But in all of that, I would want to admonish that they do so in a very decorous manner, that they do so with the mindset of patriotism as opposed to extreme partisanship. I think oftentimes that has been the bane of the opposition. Whenever a matter comes up and they ought to dispassionately discuss same, they go into the arena of extreme partisanship. So it takes away from the meat what is relevant in that sense. So I am happy that they want to be responsible. I have often chastised them quite openly, and I remember my last mockery, if you like, of the activities was in respect of trying to connect them with the 5 stages of Kubler-Ross's loss. And when I spoke about the fact that they are in a state of denial, etc., I think right now they have found some semblance of peace. And I think that is also born out of the fact that they've elected their leader. So what is left is for them to elect the other executives who would ensure that they carry forward the torch of their party's ideals and ideologies. So to that end, I am happy. All we want from the NPP is for them to be responsible. All we want from the NPP is for them to discuss issues from a nationalistic perspective, and so that Ghana can have a pathway forward.
Yeah, Austin.
The meeting was timely, and it was one that would inject some level of confidence in the lawmakers. Don't forget that last year was a very bad year for the minority. Remember, they lost number of seats, and they also lost some of their colleagues. So it was a very terrible year for them. So with the leader coming forth to motivate them and to assure them of his support, constant support, I think it is a good thing. But I want the minority to approach the coming session from a different angle. Let's drop the ball on this petty partisan politics. You are coming from a very defeating election. I mean, in an election where you had to suffer greatly. So it means that you have not yet won over Ghanaian support. You must approach your work in a non-partisan manner so that Ghanaians will feel that these people are getting ready to be handed over or to be given power again. But if you are antagonistic towards this government and you tend to spotlight every little thing this government does, it means that you are just trying to court this affection for yourself. So my encouragement or my advice to them, they must approach this session from a non-partisan perspective, push the interests of Ghanaians, and drop a little on the petty partisan politics or the ball on petty partisan politics, so that Ghanaians will feel that now these people they are now showing remorse. And not the the opposition leader says they are not ready for power and that they have done all the introspections. I think they have not done enough. No, because the apology we even need from them, they have not even given to us. All that we hear is petty apologies. We need the apology from the head. Bawumia must come out and tell us that within the space of 8 years, whatever they did wrong, he's apologizing. Because it was on the back of the things they did against Ghanaians that saw their defeats in 2024. So I feel that they've not done enough. Even though he believes that internal organization, they have done enough, I feel that beyond the internal organization, you need the face of Ghanaians. You need to approach Ghanaians from a different perspective. Because the perception of Ghanaians about you, Bawumia, yourself, is different. Because this is an economic messiah that was promised to Ghanaians. Then we did not see the economic heaven. So if we do not see the economic heaven, the economic messiah come out and tell us that due to ABCD, we were not able to deliver the public goods to you. And we apologize for some of our inactions and actions. That is how we move forward.
Very well. Let's now get into the final leg of the conversation this morning. But just for a little note for the benefit of our viewers all over the country and in different places who are watching us via our live stream, I'll be getting onto our WhatsApp platform so that I give you an idea of how the messages are trending. But just before that, I mentioned the incident that happened on the floor of Parliament that led to the destruction of property by parliamentarians. Well, this is what the law says regarding that kind of conduct, based on which an investigation was launched by Parliament into the matter. Now, it is provided within the Criminal Offences Act 1960, Act 29, and with its related amendments as well. Now, this is the key legal provision. Now, Section 172 guards and talks about causing unlawful damage. And it says any person who intentionally or unlawfully damages property commits an offense. If the damage is serious and exceeds specific value, the offense can amount to a second-degree felony. If the damage endangers life, and it can become a first-degree felony. Now, in terms of causing loss and damage to state property is Section 179A, and it specifically addresses the damage of government and public property, which is the case we're dealing with now. So any person who, through a willful act or omission, causes the damage, loss, or injury of property of the state, a public institution, a public corporation, and any government agency commits an offense. Well, we'll leave it here. We'll be monitoring very closely to see what becomes of that particular aspect of it, because also the optics matter. And, it is very important that everybody who's aspiring to Parliament has a certain mindset in terms of discipline going into the House of Legislature. Let's just quickly take a look at the messages we have here, and then we can move on to our last subject, which has to do with transport fare increases by the concerned Drivers Association. Now, this one is from Kwabena Brako Jr. in Konongo in Asante Achim South. Now, he says, Peace Council should give us a break. Where were they when someone said Dumso is back and was arrested and detained by the BNI for 2 weeks? A whole member of the Council of Elders of NPP and called the presidential candidate Sankwas and insulted Mrs. Samira Bawumia, yet nothing happened. But when an NPP member insulted him, the BNI quickly arrested and detained him for 2 weeks. They should stop the hypocrisy. Now they have suddenly heard that the NPP said they will make the country ungovernable, and they are speaking out. Thank you very much, Kwabena Brako Jr. for that message. I will do a few more, and then we'll zoom in on the conversation from the Concerned Drivers Association. Now, good morning. I'm Okai from Bantama. Now, the AG should know that the Auditor General's constitutional duty is to protect the public purse and not to negotiate findings with the very institutions being audited. If we insist on too much back and forth before publication, we risk delaying reports, watering down infractions, and also even opening the door for inference. Are we prioritizing accountability or comfort for public officials? Because Ghanaians want timely, transparent audit reports, not processes that could bury wrongdoing under bureaucracy. Okay, so Okai, a little piece of advice. Now, this is a direct allegation against the work of the Auditor General, and so if you have any specific evidence to it, then we can discuss it. Because you are directly suggesting that the Auditor General's processes have loopholes within them, and these loopholes have to do with bypassing the process and giving others convenience so they can escape the net of the law. Okay, now, good morning to you. The resumption of parliamentary business today marks a pivotal milestone in our democratic system, validating the very franchise that citizens exercise under the framework of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. However, it remains profoundly disconcerting to observe legislative proceedings where the burden of deliberation falls on a select few, while a significant cross-section of the members remain perpetually silent. Parliament is fundamentally designed as a house of record and an arena for robust debate. It is never intended to be a sanctuary for legislative docility and structural muteness. This is from Aaron Babako-Kokomisa from Latebiokeshi. Thank you very much. And we were talking about this earlier. I don't want to refer to it, but I remember very well that an MP passed on, and one of the comments that came from a member of the public was that, well, we never heard him speak in Parliament. But what kind of structure has been created? And so that's where this texter's his contribution becomes very, very key in there. Okay, a very quick one there. Good morning. For the first time in Ahafo history, Honorable Collins Dauda, the Ahafo Regional Minister, and Honorable Charity Gardner teamed up with RegSec to combat the fight against illegal mining. It's a step in the right direction. Kudos to them. All right, thank you very much, Kwabena Acidity, for that one. All right, gentlemen, we were running out of time. We'd have to do this in record time. Now, the concerned Drivers Association say that, listen, we are going to increase by 20%. And this is in the face of a subsidy that was granted that now covers diesel and petrol. And there have been 2 subsidies that have been done, and both of them are supposed to cushion. Yet the drivers say they want to increase by 20%.
But it's legitimate. Do they have any legitimate expectation? Yes, they can increase it. Because these are individuals who have bought their own cars, and they are providing services to Ghanaians. Which service was ordinarily supposed to have been provided by the government. So they are helping in moving the course of this country. Must they be regulated? Unless we're able to have an authority, a transport authority regulating GPRTU and even the transport sector, we're going to have this fragmented system for years coming. Because we need, and not I've always been advocating, that we need the National Transport Authority to regulate, streamline transportation in the country. Particularly GPRTU. And don't forget, GPRTU is only a cross-section of the drivers' union.
There's Protoa.
They have the others. And so you must understand. So when when government meets GPRTU, it doesn't mean government has met the other groups. They're also on their own. And they have the right, in fact, to charge fees. And there was this incident where some GPRT members formed a task force, and they were arresting drivers for charging commuters exorbitantly. And the argument is that they don't have that jurisdiction. It is not their responsibility to be arresting people. We have laws. So if you feel the person has committed a crime, then you have that is where, even when you believe the person has committed a crime in your presence, or is about to commit even a crime, that is where you have the jurisdiction. But where you believe that somebody is charging an exorbitant fee, it's not within your jurisdiction to do that.
Very well. Let's wrap up with you, Kwame.
Quickly. I mean, I think that it's hypocritical on the part of the drivers to want to always increase their fares when it's convenient for them. When government reduced the prices of fuel, they never saw the need to reduce their prices.
Fuel is not the only determinant. Fuel is not the only determinant.
I hear this argument all the time. And to be honest with you,
the cost of parts.
The cost of parts.
No. It's a very, I don't want to use some.
No, but fuel is just a component.
I agree with you. But I'm saying that it is an important component, because without the fuel, the vehicle cannot move. You can have all the wonderful spare parts, without the fuel,
Kwame, it does not negate. Hold on, Kwame. It does not negate the fact that fuel is one. While it is a major,
that is the major. It's the heart.
While it's a major component, it's not the only component.
I am not in disagreement. I'm not in disagreement with you. All I'm saying is that it is hypocritical on the part of government to always increase prices when it's convenient for them.
You mean the drivers?
Yes, when it's convenient for them. It is terrible. That is why I agree with you when you say that we should have a national transport authority that will regulate some of these things. Because it is mind-boggling, very retrogressive, very disdainful on the part of the drivers to always think that for them they are better human beings than the person who has to also go and look for money to come and pay these fares. They are taking advantage of the system. They always take advantage of the system. They always take advantage of the commuters. They always take advantage of the people who ask for their services.
Which system?
Because look, as we speak today, Nat, most of the people who are working today, their salaries are the same. Their salaries are the same, unfortunately. So we are all in this together. Nobody is benefiting. Nobody is benefiting. All of us are in this together. We are all suffering together. So when it's convenient for you, you want to come and increase your prices. When it's convenient. But when the government reduces the fuel, the very commodity or product that you need to ensure that your vehicle moves from your house to the station, after that one, when they ask you to reduce, they say, no, you won't reduce it. What kind of hypocrisy is that?
Well, this is how we wrap it up here on News Flash. Thank you all so much, gentlemen. Lawyer Austin Brako-Powers, he's a lawyer and a researcher. And as I mentioned, he's been devoting his time to also helping out.
His researches are very, very good. On Facebook, I've been reading small. Even me as a lawyer, I visit his page on Facebook.
Very well.
Brako-Powers.
Yeah.
They should look out for him.
Yeah, Brako-Powers. He has a very interesting last
and
name.
The member of parliament who was arrested. What's his name?
Yeah, Ohene
Yes. So what's going to...
Well, we're still monitoring.
But I think Parliament has to speak.
Yes, but
Parliament has to
so we're monitoring. Of course, we're monitoring. That's how come we're keeping our tabs on, so that we'll see what kind of major conversation would arise regarding his matter. And also to you, Kwame Usudan, so we're very grateful to you. Thank you all so much. We're grateful to all of our panelists, the Member of Parliament who also joined us. We're grateful to Clement Akolo and Dr. Kwame Asante. Now, the Multimedia Group also wants to sincerely thank everyone who supported the 5-year-old Miguel in Tifo through prayers, donations, and kind messages. Now, Miguel prepares for a second critical surgery, and we kindly encourage the public to continue supporting his treatment in any way possible. So every contribution can make a difference for his recovery. Together, we can all help Miguel through this very difficult time. We're very grateful to all of you for the support so far. Let's keep it coming so that we save his life and make him fulfill his purpose for Mother Ghana. And so just before we wrap it up here on News Flash, I would like to just bring all of us to a quote assigned to the Vice President, Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. It's on page 18 of the Daily Graphic. And it says, I quote, "When a tree grows too tall, its fruits become food only for the birds. But when its branches spread low, even the children of the village can eat. So must governance bend its branches towards the people." Unquote. This is from
what an intelligent quote.
This is from Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman.
Intelligent quote.
And I believe that this, this kind of philosophy cuts across every aspect of life and across leadership. And everybody in leadership must think along these lines to make sure that the work that you do at the top spreads to everybody and the person you consider even the lowest, so that it can be felt at that level.
In conclusion, it means that when you are at the top, ensure that those beneath you also benefit. From
you are the top of your party, so you have to make sure that...
But the quote must be extended to everybody. No, everybody, even workers.
That's what I said.
Yes, everybody. Like you said, everybody, including Kwame yourself.
Big men
and Nat.
Big men build men.
And small men also build men.
So that's food for thought for you, Kwame.